Now, we understand that there have been some delays with the panels, but we promise to keep it on time and keep it interesting. So thank you all for joining, and thank you to Cyprus Forum for partnering with DG Reform, the European Commission's Directorate General for Support to Reforms, in this panel, and where we will explore the issue of exchanges and how exchanges, whether they are educational or vocational, can foster openness and cooperation. And we do this against an initiative that DG Reform has taken in the last 2 years, which is to promote the exchange among public administrations in EU member states. So member states, public administrations learning from each other. And against this background, we're exploring this very interesting issue today with 3 exceptional speakers who all know DG Reform very well. And we will start from Penelope Papavassiliou, who is the Secretary of the Council of Ministers in Cyprus. Online, we have Rita Diaz, who is the President of the Erasmus Student Network. And Rita, there are young people in this crowd, so I guess they might know, or I hope they know Erasmus. And we also have Michael Johnson, who is the chair of the United World Colleges Committee in Cyprus, and I also hope you know that organization. But without any delay, I would like to pass the floor to Rita and ask her to explain to us what is the Erasmus initiative and how does exchange in that context foster openness and cooperation in Europe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank you for the invitation and apologies for not being in present. I hope that the next time I can make to Cyprus. It's a very beautiful country. I never had the chance to visit, and I hope that the next time I can visit in person. And also, I'm very happy I can count with the presence of other young people in the audience. So I came here today to speak about the Erasmus Plus program, a bit of our experience with the program. So ESN is an organization that works daily with the Erasmus Plus program and with the opportunities of the Erasmus Plus program. So we are a youth organization. Many of our members participate in mobilities and in the program. So ESN was also basically organized with the Commission, together with the Commission, to foster the participation of mobilities. And we have been joined together since 2087, since the program was created, and we have been growing since there. So right now we have been present in 44 countries, and we have been supporting mobility since there. And I've been here today to speak a bit about how Erasmus Plus program works and how ESN has been working together with the program. So as you know a bit about the Erasmus Plus program, it's an opportunity that has been around since 1987, has been changing a lot since then. And right now, basically, has 7 horizontal priorities: inclusion, digitalization, sustainability, and democratic participation. And these horizontal priorities are basically the cornerstone of the program. And basically, at the moment, we have the midterm evaluation of the Erasmus Plus program that we have been seeing now that the Commission has been asking for reviews. And also is the program that fosters participation of individuals in mobility around. So all of you, of all the young people that didn't participate in mobility that are in the Ioannis, I also advise you to take a step forward and then participate in this wonderful opportunity that is to participate in the Erasmus Plus program. But also to speak about mobility abroad. So ESN organizes 2 in 2 years a survey called the ESN survey, and we basically ask our members, the ones that participate in Erasmus Plus program, how do they feel about how it is to participate in the program, what can be improved. And we actually closed our survey last July, and we understood actually what can be improved by the program, or actually how member states can cooperate to improve in the program. And we actually understand a very interesting thing, because the last panel was about the European elections. We have a question in our survey that basically asks the participants, how do they feel, if they feel more European after participating in the program? Because I don't know if you know, but Erasmus Plus program also is an educational opportunity and an opportunity to foster European participation and democratic participation. So we have asked our participants, how do they feel after participating in the program? Do they feel more European, citizens of their own country? And we actually seen that before they answered, only 35% they feel citizens of the European Union, and after participating in mobility, already 47 of them feel more citizens of the European Union. So you can see that actually this is one of the goals that actually are being succeeding from the Erasmus Plus program, that citizens, that the participants of the program are actually feeling more European. But we actually also have a question on the survey that asks the participants if they are willing to vote on the next European elections. And we also see that more than 40% of the people participating in mobility are actually more willing to vote on the next EU election. So it's very good news from participants in mobility. But also from our survey, we can actually understand how the EU member states can cooperate to improve the program. And the three main challenges that our survey highlighted were lack of accommodation, lack of funding, and credit recognition. So about accommodation, we believe that by sharing best practices with each other, the countries that have good practices regarding accommodation, we actually can achieve better accommodation support for our students. But also regarding a lack of funding, some countries, for example, like Spain, they do have this practice of national co-funding opportunities, where apart from the students receiving this Erasmus Plus grant, they also receive these grants from the states or from the regional governments that actually increase the opportunities of students to participate in mobility. Because as we saw in the last Erasmus Plus program, mobility is a very nice opportunity, but opportunity is not an opportunity for all. And we as an organization, we believe that all young people should have the opportunity to participate in mobility. But also, we also saw that, for example, there are still some difficulties in credit recognition. So when students participate in mobility, some of their credits are not recognized. And since this is a responsibility from the member states, we believe that by cooperating with each other, we can reach better achievements on this side. So on my side, this is everything, and I'm available to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Rita. We'll get back to you, but you didn't tell us, you were an Erasmus student yourself, right?
Yes, I did Erasmus in 2017 in Leuven, in Belgium, a long time ago, but I still have the Erasmus feeling in my heart.
And I want to tell you that I also did the Erasmus in Leuven, the Catholic University of Leuven, much more time before you, unfortunately. So also the same school. So what I want to say is that Rita has been speaking like a DigiReform person, in the sense that what we do in this service of the European Commission is really promote best practices among member states, so that they learn from each other, and whoever does it better educates the other member state or other member states, and vice versa. And with this, we will go to another exchange model that Penelope has participated in, the secondary national expert scheme that she will explain its value. So the floor to you.
Thank you, Ioannis, and a big thanks to the Cyprus Forum for the invitation, as well as to DigiReform for organizing this panel. As Ioannis mentioned, yes, I was lucky to participate in this scheme of seconded national experts, which basically gives the opportunity to civil servants from all over Europe to participate and be seconded in the European Commission and other EU institutions. I was working as a seconded national expert, SNE in brief, it's called, for 6 years in DigiReform. And I was dealing with structural reform support to member states. Although I was based in Athens, I had the chance to work on projects of other member states too. For example, Malta, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Estonia, to name but a few. This was an amazing experience for many reasons, and one of them was that it really does foster cooperation between the member states and the European Commission. And let me say a few things more about this. Being a civil servant for 18 years already in Cyprus, in the Ministry of Finance and in DG Grow of the Cyprus government. I had gained a lot of experience in working on EU affairs. So after 18 years of this experience, I decided to take the SNE post in DG Reform. And with this, I brought a perspective from the member state side into the workings of DG Reform. And I could use this in my work on how to better approach member states and gain a better understanding of their needs. And I think this is a very important part of DG Reform. So I think I had the chance to bring in this added value to the work of our DG. And of course share this experience with other colleagues who have been working on many different files. Also, I had the chance, as I mentioned earlier, to work with many different countries. So for me, this was an opportunity to see how other countries' civil service are working, to see some very good practices. And I had this in mind, I had these best practices in mind when working on projects of similar countries. So this exchange of good practices was very centered to our work. And well, another opportunity is of course to make very good friends with colleagues from all over Europe, and have a network of friends and allies in the European Commission when an SNE comes back home. So,
thank you, Boli, and of course we'll come back later to how all this experience is now feeding into your very important role currently in the Cypriot government. But we now go to Michael Johnson, who represents here the United World Colleges, and maybe that you know less, but I share something with Michael, is that we're both alumni of this. We have both been to these schools. Let's start from you. You went to the Atlantic in Wales. I went to the Adriatic in Italy, luckily a few years after you. So I'll pass the floor to Michael to explain what this movement is and how, at a global level, this movement also tries, through exchanges of young students, to foster openness and cooperation.
Thank you, Ioannis. And I think I'd like to say thank you to everybody for inviting us again. But Ioannis makes a good point. The bonds of United World College and going to a school are incredible. And I met Ioannis face to face for the first time today, and I think we instantly have a commonality that makes it much easier to communicate and talk about issues. And that's how he found me and asked me to come here. United World Colleges fully appreciates and supports the concept that education can foster and understand and promote understanding and cooperation. The whole concept of United World Colleges was built around that. They were started in 1962 by a German educator called Kurt Hahn, who wanted to bring together international students to basically study together and learn together, with the concept being that youth, studying together at that age will create bonds. And that's turned into the mission of United World College now, which I think falls straight into the concept of this forum. It's actually making education a force to unite people, nations and cultures for peace and sustained culture. For sustainable future. So it falls exactly into that. And really, in a nutshell, the concept is that if you take students of the age of 15, 16, 17, and you put them all together from all over the world, these students will turn up in one of the 18 United World Colleges that are scattered around the world. These students will be in a group of maybe 100 to 150 per year at each school. All of them are on scholarships, so parental income is not a factor. They go on their own merit. They're selected and chosen by 155 national committees around the world. when you put these students together for 2 years, they very, very quickly, learn what their commonalities are, and they can completely forget their differences. They work. I mean, me personally, I was thrown into a school. My roommates, we were sharing rooms. One was from Namibia, one was from Norway, the other one was from Peru. When we went to the school, I barely knew anything about any of those countries. Those 3 guys are still 3 of my best friends to date. I had to remember today where they even came from, because I just know them by their names and their friends. So that's what it is about it. We're very, very fortunate in Cyprus at the moment in that over the last 4 or 5 years, we've actually teamed up with the European Union, and we've created the European Scholarship Program for Cypriot Youth at UWC. So this is a program directed at Cypriots, where we're sending 16 Cypriots per year from all Cypriot communities to go to one of 4 UWC schools in Europe. So this program has now been running, I think it's into its 4th or 5th year now. It's been running very successfully. It's been expanded. It's combined now with running short courses in Cyprus, where we invite people as well from abroad, and we're running those. And we're also running what we call youth engagement programs, these one-day seminars, trying to promote that. So the concept of UWC really is it's bringing the youth in, pulling out their leadership skills, putting them through experiences where they forget where they came from, they forget all those things, and they just focus on what are the things they're facing out of that. They're encouraged to share. They don't completely forget their culture. Every UWC student going to a UWC school is encouraged to present their culture at some point, explain it, talk about their problems, talk about their good things, put on a national dance, whatever it is. They're there to demonstrate to the rest of the world, what is it about Cyprus that makes it work, and maybe even what are the problems in Cyprus, and talk about them. And I think they very quickly they suddenly they're teaming up with people from all over the world who have similar problems or similar cultures or different things, and they talk about their experiences. So I think I've probably said enough about about that for now, Ioannis. So I'll hand the floor back to you, I think, unless there's any particular questions you want to ask.
Thanks a lot. What we will do is take another small intervention from everyone, then we'll open the floor to questions if the audience has. But what I want to say, going back to Rita, is that the Erasmus crowd, the people who have been to Erasmus and they're now in the Erasmus student network, are a very dynamic network. We had them with us at the conference in Porto on skills, because this is the European Year of Skills, and the Erasmus program, which is probably the most successful program of the EU, has a lot to do with that. So it's a pity we don't have her with us to bring the energy of that network in this room, but it would be interesting to hear from you, Rita, all of you enthusiasts about the program in the network. What is it that you do to further promote the program, and how do you see its future? I mean, how more can it expand these sort of exchanges across Europe but it's not only for young people, by the way. Can you please tell us what is the role of the network and how you see the future of this organization?
Yes, so like I told you, ESN was born with the Erasmus Plus program. So we have also been accompanying the growth of the program. And at the moment, we are actually also present outside of Europe. So we have just approved our first member in Kazakhstan. So we are very happy about this. And also we are going hopefully to approve our next member in Jordan. So our goal is to support mobility in all the levels. So we have a structure of 3 levels. We are present in a local, national, international level. So I'm going to speak a bit about this, about also my path in ESN, because I've also started as a volunteer in the local level. My section was in Lisbon. So I started a bit by integrating students in their mobility. So they came to Lisbon, and my role as a local volunteer was to basically try to give them the best mobility experience, to try to support universities on the ground, to try to give them the best mobility experience that the students can have. We provide them several integration activities to try to integrate the international students that came to my city with other international students, to try to give them this spirit of internationalization and to try to feel that at home from abroad. This is basically what ESN gives to to the students when especially in the local level. And then in the national level, we try a bit more now to liaise already with institutions, especially with the national agencies that are the bodies responsible to manage the program on the national level. And now my role is a bit more deep. So my role is especially to liaise with the European institutions, especially with the European Commission and DGAC, to try for the program to be improved daily. So for example, this survey that I was explaining a bit before, with these answers, we try a bit to liaise with the European Commission and now with the midterm review to try to make the program better and better for the students and especially more inclusive daily. What do I consider that can be improved for the students? Is actually very curious and very curious answer, because of course that as ESN our goal is to try to improve, but there's actually a very broad question, because if everything is good about the Erasmus Plus program, actually ESN will not exist anymore. So it's actually good that some things can be improved. So I would say that digitalization is actually one of the things that I think it could be improved in general. Before I was listening a bit the panel before, and this is one of the topics that was tackled even as a priority for the next few elections, and will also be a priority for the program and for the students. So this new generation of students is a generation that wants the program to be more digital. They want everything by the touch of their finger and their phone. So I would say that for the program and to be improved for next year, I would say that digitalization will be the main core area, but also increase the quality of the mobility. So the prices are increasing. Students will need reinforcement of the quality of their mobilities for the next years.
Thanks a lot. And you raise issues which are, of course, relevant also at European policy level, digitalization, I mean, the twin transitions. These are things that Poly has experienced working with DG Reform for 6 years. So as promised, we come back to Polly to tell us how that experience is now feeding into her role of Secretary of the Council of Ministers in Cyprus, which has really a pivotal role in implementing the government's policy across all sectors.
Thank you, Ioannis. Coming back to Cyprus, taking over the role of the Secretary to the Council of Ministers, I tapped on my experience in the Commission in DG Reform in different modes. One of them was to get the best practices from other member states, to help coordinate the government work, and together with the Deputy Minister to the President, we created, on the basis of best practices of other member states, we created the Secretariat for the coordination of the government work. We just started functioning in September with 12 members from the civil service, and it's there to support and coordinate the implementation of the government program. This is a good practice, as we've seen it in other member states, for example, Greece and Ireland, to name but a few. So having this experience with the other EU member states helped us implement this also in Cyprus. The other way it has helped me as a professional is by taking all these processes and methods and the culture of the European Commission, bringing those to my team here in Cyprus, in the civil service. So I am managing a team of about 15 people, and there from day one I let's say automatically started behaving as we were behaving in the European Commission, meaning focusing more on motivating people, focusing more on simplifying processes, on using more digital tools in making our work easier, but also the life of the citizen. So I think these are the main, let's say, things I can share with you right now, and I'm sure I will have more opportunities to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And there might be questions by people, but we go last to Michael. And Michael, you explained how the UWC works and the idea of exchange at a young age. Mr. Khan, the founder of UWC, said that you must make young people to feel needed, that they're needed. Why the focus on youth? Because I went there when I was 15, and I was sharing some experiences, and it was quite shocking. We're quite young.
Okay. Youth are needed, or what they needed? I think that's, the simple answer is there's definitely yes. Youth are the future, and we have to invest in them, and we have to give them the opportunities to expand. I don't know if anybody has, probably everybody in the room has children or kids, but children have an annoying habit of asking why too many times. They will they will often ask why many times until you give them a proper answer, and they won't accept an answer that doesn't make sense. I think especially around 15, 16-year-olds, they see things far more black and white than adults do. I mean, certainly, as we get older, we all get grayer, and I think everything gets a little bit grayer with us. So, youth bring a fresh approach. They are the future. They question why. They'll challenge the status quo. I mean, United World College will encourage people. Your point, it can be a little bit frightening for some people sometimes, but they will encourage people to challenge the status quo. They will ask the students to not necessarily believe everything they're said, to work out where it came from. But they're in that context, they're given access to as many as maybe 80 different nationalities in the school to get different opinions from, and find out where things are going. So they do get that challenge. So I think the more that you can foster, programs like SNE or Erasmus, where youth are taken abroad or even locally, but they're mixed. They get to know each other. They get to mix. I think they create lifelong bonds then. I mean, I know I still have my friends there. They hopefully at some point when they get to be, in a ministerial position or wherever it is, they will remember the fact that when they were 15, 16, or when they were on an exchange somewhere, they shared a room with somebody from Czechoslovakia or from somewhere else, and that person has the same issues as they do. They're worried about their family, they're worried about this, they're worried about different things, and it just makes that, might make that negotiation or that ability just a little bit easier to break through. So I think that's where I come from it, and say that would be answer to your question on there. Somebody once said, I don't even know who it was, but somebody said that how can you have peace without understanding? And then it was extended by somebody else who said, how can you have understanding if you don't meet people and share experiences? So, I think I'll probably end on that and hand it back to you.
Thanks a lot. So with these interventions, I think we've made the point that we tried to make the point, hopefully, that through exchanges, and yes, they can be stronger or more effective when you're young because maybe you're more open-minded, but even because in Europe they're taking place even at an adult stage, when you have had experiences, when you've seen things, but still people are open to learn and learn what is done better elsewhere and borrow and give back. And that makes international organizations such the EU work better and all of the members to benefit more. And that is what, coming back to DG Reform as organizing of this panel, that is also what my service within the Commission is focusing on the power of exchanges among member states to make the public administrations more effective for the European citizens. So I think with this, I think we conclude the idea we were offering as part of this panel's discussion, and we open the floor to anyone who might have a question or a comment. So that hand first.
Thank you for the discussion. During the previous panel, one of the participants, age 16 going on 17, was expressed views for a much stronger Brussels control, it seemed, that there should be an enforced educational policy on all of the countries so that there would be better education. Brussels-led social welfare programs to improve the life of European citizens. So it struck me that, particularly with the youth exchanges, does that lead to a sense of more Europeanness and less localized ethnic identity? I mean, does a Cypriot going on an exchange to Spain see, oh, we're all Europeans, so why don't we unite more into a common European identity? Or do they go there and be proud that, hey, I can show you what it means to be Cypriot, I'm proud of my culture, and I see what's different about you in Spain, it's great to be here, but you're Spain, I'm Cyprus, and let's keep our separate identities. What is the general result of these exchanges? Is it more of a shared identity or greater pride in your own ethnic identity?
I will share with you before, and I think we pass the floor first to Rita because she raised this point, but then anyone else who wants to touch on it. But there was a statement by Bono of U2, the statement that Vice President Margaritis Schinas like to quote often, but we have stolen that quote, a number of us. And Bono said that Europe is an idea that needs to become a feeling, to reach a stage when the positives of Europe and all these exchanges actually translate into a European identity, which is what you are asking. And I think, Rita, you had the numbers, so you can tell us what your survey showed.
Yes, so at least for the last 4 years, we have been analyzing this question, and what has showed us, at least for the last 2 editions of the Erasmus Plus program, is that so the students are actually really proud to show, for example, what means to be Cypriot, what means to be Spanish to the other international students. But when they actually come back home, they actually feel more European than they were before. But actually, it's very interesting because they don't feel less Cypriot or less Spanish. They just feel more European as well. So it doesn't decrease the level of their nationalism feelings, but it increases their feeling to belonging to the European Union.
And anyone else wants to answer this question? Maybe from your angle, I don't know, or not, but I think the answer is clear from the data.
I'll make one quick comment on it. I mean, United World Colleges is, they're looking to make, they focus very heavily on you bring your own culture with you and you go back to your own culture and you try and, make small changes or big changes in your culture based on your experiences and what you've learned. United World Colleges obviously is, with the 18 colleges around the world is not necessarily looking just at the European mentality. They're looking at citizens of the world, and each school will have 80 nationalities. I believe, and you may be able to correct me on this, I think the United World Colleges can advertise this now that they've actually had more students than the UN, from countries than the UN has national members. So, but I think getting back to the gentleman's question here, I mean, I think the exchanges need to be, it's important that you to keep your own cultural identity. That's my personal opinion. And then, yeah, everybody wants to be part of a bigger movement as well, and you have to recognize theirs and you have to be part of it. So I think it's, I don't personally see why you should have to lose your cultural identity and not also be a European citizen. So.
I just want to confirm that I share the same view with Rita and Michael, that indeed I am proud to be Cypriot, and I'm also very proud to be European, so one does not cancel out the other. You can be both, and being a Cypriot helps me being European and the other way around. And this is something you see alive happening when you join an institution like the European Commission.
I have a Danish colleague in the crowd, sitting at the back. No, actually two, one Danish, one Finnish. I forgot Stefan. The question.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask Mrs. Diaz about a technical problems that students are facing. For example, I'm studying here at the University of Nicosia, and I rent a house for 12 months because that's the rental agreement. And when if I want to go Erasmus on the fall semester, I cannot tell my owner that I will be missing for 5 or 6 months, and then I will be returning. I'm not going to pay rent for not staying at the house. So what can be done? I also have here that some students have problems with their lessons. They are not recognized by the university. They are currently studying and they have to give the lesson again. So what can be done? Because this is serious and we are critical about this program, hearing those things. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the questions. Actually, it's one of the two main problems students are facing, and actually we are highly advocating for this trying to be solved, but they are actually the two most difficult problems to be solved because are the ones that actually require for the member states to act. So what we are currently advocating for is for more student housing, because with student housing, it's more flexible for you to actually rent the house for the period that you are abroad and not only for the 1 year, because what is happening for the students that are going into abroad is that some landlords require for them to rent the house for 1 year, even though they are only doing mobility for 5 months or 6 months. As we can see that majority of students actually do shorter mobilities of 6 and 5 months. So what we are currently trying to advocate is actually for the increase of student housing from the part of universities. The problem is this requires funding and requires to be a priority from the member states. This is why I try to mention this as a factor for member states to try to cooperate, see best practices between each other. I know, for example, from northern countries, they actually have very good facilities and they can be a good best practice to take and to influence other countries. Regarding the credit recognition, actually there was a document, so a council recommendation released in 2018 from the council recommendation from the European Union that basically requires that all the member states should automatically recognize the credits from the students. The problem is that this is not happening and there are still problems with credit recognition on the universities. There are several problems regarding administrative problems with this process. For example, one of the problems that we are understanding now is that in some countries this is state-based, in other countries the universities are very independent and they can actually apply their own laws and their own criteria. So we are also at the moment trying to advocate for this change and to try for the credits to be recognized as much as possible. And we are in direct contact at the moment with the European Commission and actually with the Spanish Presidency because it's one of their priorities. But I actually, at the student point, I advise you as well to be active citizenships and to also speak with your universities and try to also raise these issues.
Thank you for the question, because we know what we hear.
Yeah, just a quick question about, you mentioned that DG Reform is promoting exchange of public servants, civil servants, between public administrations of member states, and I wanted to know more, and if it's implemented, what are the experiences up to now, any challenges and all that. And the second thing is to Polly that the national secondment experts, if you know how Cyprus exploited that and how many national experts from Cyprus administration to this. And this exchange is between Commission and Member States between them, how it works, so this.
So I think I'll pass the floor to Polly to reply on the SNE scheme, but that scheme is between officials and the Commission, like officials of member states. Here we're talking about what we call PACE or PACE. DG Reform is a flagship program which promotes the exchange between administrations or several administrations. I don't know whether you want to start, Polly, on the SNE or I start on the... So as regards PACE, which is a program that was introduced, what we call flagship. It was a flagship proposal to member states for reform support. And as I said, DG Reform helps implement reforms across Europe, but also aims to build the capacity of public administrations. So this proposal for the exchange between public administrations was actually taken very positively by member states. It was introduced last year, several member states participated, and this year even more. We work on annual cycles. The end of this cycle, so the submission of the request will be end of October this year. But from what we see in sort of draft requests or preliminary interest, this program has gained a lot of momentum and interest, because it means that it will allow administrations that face similar issues, or even administrations that one administration knows that the other is better on something, to cooperate, to learn from each other. And it goes to the gist of an organization like the EU, because if you are like 27 member states working together, it makes a lot of sense to learn who does what best and take from them. It can be one-sided. I mean, this is, we call it Erasmus for public administrations. It's based on the idea of the Erasmus program, but translated into the administrations. And there, it can be an exchange between two countries, or it can be one-sided, or it can be a multi-exchange. This is normally short-term, yes. But it's, no, it's a few months. But there, it can be when you're when you're a professional and you know your work, you can easily and very quickly spot the differences and then take them back, because you're already experienced in the field. But this is something new, like we call it a flagship thing, which we hope will gain a lot of momentum in the future. And I pass the floor to Polly on the SNE exchange, which is an old program.
Yes, to be honest, Adonis, I'm not aware of the number, but I wouldn't assume there are more than 15. But I can check and get back to you. So yes. Yes. No, I think they have increased. The interest has increased on SNE exchanges, and also what I can say is that civil servants can easily find now posts as SNE in the European Commission through the site of the public administration department of Cyprus. So you can find all SNE posts there. So there is more, let's say, engagement also from the side of the government to promote that concept. Since we've entered the EU, sorry, was what? I think this was your question. Yes. It's encouraged more, and there is less reluctant from the administration side to leave the staff to go there, because they can see the benefits, the long-term benefits of such an exchange.
We expect it will this year, yes. And in a multi-country exchange, actually. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Yana, and I'm also a graduate of the UWC program. And I feel incredibly lucky because it really changed my life. But I also recognize the fact that by the nature, these exchange programs do not really, not many people can participate in them compared to the number of students in the educational system. And indirectly, the students, we can help to catalyze the improvement of the educational systems. However, my question is, directly, how can the funding institutions, the exchange program themselves, and the government as well, directly use these programs to catalyze improving our educational systems?
I think this could be answered by all from different angles. So maybe we start with you, Michael, or you want?
Okay. Well, I think that's in. Thanks, Leanne. When I saw you on the front row, I knew we were going to get a difficult question. So, but it's the right one to ask, and I think we're all struggling with that. How do we take these programs that are successful and how do we build on them and how do we get the word out there and how do we make them more available to as many people as possible. My only comment, is probably not a particularly strong one, is that the proof is in the success, and it takes the graduates, it takes the people to get the word out and get there, and we've just got to keep persevering. As you know, with UWC, we're trying to organise more and more local activities as well, where we engage and we actually bring international students into Cyprus as well to facilitate the discussion. So last summer we had a course with about 40 or 50 people. And I think we had about 12 from abroad, around Mediterranean countries mainly there. And we're looking at more and more programs like that. What can we do with those? And I think, we just, we have to build on the success. That's the only thing I can say.
I think there are several ways that government could help what you mentioned, Jana. Indeed, it is a challenge to take your experience and the experience of other students and help improve the educational system. However, I think this could be could be implemented via better cooperation between the youth, the students who participate in these programs, and the governments. When I say governments, I mean governments in general, not just the Cypriot government. One thing that comes to my mind is through, let's say, consultation processes where people can, express their views on the future of education policies. The government now is working on an initiative on the voice of youth, which will enable young people to express their voices and their experiences in general, and of course the experiences under such exchange programs, in order to improve their lives and also the educational system. I think it's also up to you, as Michael mentioned, alumni of these experiences and exchanges, to raise your voices, make bold, let's say, recommendations on how to improve educational systems. And now, talking as a government representative, I would invite you to, make a memo and present it to the Minister of Education, and I'm sure it's something she would really, really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Bolly. I think that's a very good proposal, because I think we got a gift. I see it as a gift, the scholarship of back then. And I think the one thing we can do is to share that experience, to try and communicate it to friends, to family, to our community. Also, the place of our work. For example, at some point I had a discussion with the colleague who is sitting back there, and I think that ended up in promoting the scheme here in Cyprus for Cypriots. I mean, the EU supporting it. So I think one way of doing it is this, to make sure that this great experience is shared and is not kept just for ourselves, which you're clearly doing. Thank you. And do we have any other questions? Or we have two more. I don't know with time, because we don't have, so you have to have quick questions. Huh? Go on. That's it. So 2 quick questions, maybe ask them one after the other, and then we answer them and we close.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, so I fully understand and appreciate the role of the individual in kind of disseminating these messages and these experiences, and I'm part of an NGO. I understand the role of grassroots movements, volunteerism, all of that. Can there be a formal mechanism? Can there be something from the state, a top-down, or is this something that really just operates on an ad hoc process and basis? because we are an EU member state, at least in Cyprus, but in general, intercultural exchange and the dissemination of these messages, is it really just up to the initiative of private actors, or can there be something more formal?
Okay, thank you. I think that question was probably already tackled by Polly, but we'll get back to it, and maybe we have the next one.
Well, it's actually very similar. I was just wondering that, seeing as there are so many alumni already available in Cyprus, and at the moment Cyprus is actually, the education system is showing an influx of different nationalities in the schools, and the teachers don't seem to be prepared. Isn't there some way that the ministry or the government could actually access all these alumni and spread them around so that they can give their information directly to the schools where it's needed at the moment? That way, even primary school children will learn how to interact with each other instead of them being shunned into isolated little minorities.
Okay, thank you. I think, Polly, I'll pass the floor to you if you want to
No,
comment on
I
that.
think this is a very good idea, actually, to bring alumni people from such exchanges in primary schools and talk about, talk to teachers and also students about their experiences and the power of diversification, but also, you know, how these exchanges can be helpful in integrating the migrants. Regarding the question, your question, I've tried to reply earlier. I think it shouldn't be just a top-down approach, but also a bottom-up. And this is what the government is trying to do now with the Voices of Youth, that it will soon be launched, to give a voice to the students, to the people, to the youth, and to raise their voice. But also the government has in mind a few initiatives that we want to put in place in order to take these ideas, keep continuing this consultation, not in an ad hoc manner, but in a more institutionalized manner, so that this can create the appropriate, let's say, conditions for exchanging from bottom up and top down, and creating the opportunities for a better future for the youth. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Polly. And I think you have also answered one question that we heard about these kind of panels, that, you know, it's nice to discuss ideas, but then what concrete comes out of them? You have just shared two concrete possible things that can be done, and we thank you for that. And thank you all for joining us in the last running panel of Cyprus Forum 2023. It was a great honor to be part of it. And Rita, you wanted to come in?
Just a very small point, because we have actually a program that supports this alumni engagement. It's called Erasmus in Schools. We actually can facilitate the contact of ES in Cyprus. They actually invite former international students and students doing it in Cyprus to go to schools and actually speak about the Erasmus Plus program. It's a very well-known program in ESN. We do it in the 44 countries. So if anybody's interested, can give you my email, and I will be happy to put you in contact with the responsibles in any country.
Thanks
and it was
a
a
lot.
pleasure to be here to speak with all of you individually.
Thank you, Rita. That was a third solution offered, a third option, practical step that can be followed.
Yes.
So thank you all very much. Thank you.